Hey everybody, what's up and welcome to another Sims 4 house building video. In this video I am once again building a house from WandaVision. This house is from the latest episode, episode 6, which aired just this morning. I basically watched the episode and immediately started building because I just really liked the house. Basically, if you're not familiar with WandaVision, every episode the house changes in some way. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I've already built one of the houses from the show. They're always the same house, but they're different in each episode. And on my last video, a couple people asked me to build some of the other versions. And I wasn't sure about going back to older versions of the house because the only one that I've built is from episode 5. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back and build them from episodes 1 through 4 or to just wait for new ones to come out and see what they're like, because I wasn't in love with the ones from the earlier episodes. They are cool, I just don't think that they'd translate well to The Sims. So I said I'd wait till today's episode aired and I might build that one, and it aired and I loved it. I could immediately tell that the style was going to kind of lend itself nicely to The Sims. It's quite a, not simplistic house, but it's just a bit more modern than the other houses that have appeared on the show, because the show is kind of a period piece in a way. It's all based on different decades, and this one is based on the 90s, so it's the most modern we've seen on the show so far. So I thought it might be kind of easy to build in The Sims. It wasn't easy, but it was easier than the last one. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with how this house turned out. This episode of the show in general was just really entertaining. It was such a nostalgia trip, because I'm only 21, but I did grow up with a lot of things from the 90s. I recognized a lot of the references, and I don't know, it was pretty cool because every episode until now has been 60s, 70s, 80s, and all the references just go completely over my head. But this one borrowed heavily from Malcolm in the Middle, and I should probably explain the show a bit. Basically, if you aren't familiar with WandaVision, I definitely recommend watching it. It's based in the MCU, and it follows Wanda and Vision, and Wanda is kind of, this might tread into spoiler territory, but her kind of descent into madness, and she's basically building a world, her fantasy world around her, and basically every episode the world she's living in changes. What I'm taking it as is that it's changing kind of with her mood and where her mind is at that stage, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, so this episode was all kind of 90s based, and they borrowed heavily from Malcolm in the Middle, and I don't know, it was just really cool seeing this old reference that I finally understood, and it kind of unlocked a memory I didn't know I had, because I grew up watching Malcolm in the Middle reruns, and yeah, it was just really cool seeing the intro to the show and the breakaway talking to the camera and stuff. It was just really cool. But that's kind of the main reason why I wanted to build this house, because I really enjoyed building the one that's based in the 80s, which is already up on my channel. If you want to watch that, please do. But this house was just I don't know, it was just, I was immediately inspired once I started watching the episode, and I'm really happy with how this house turned out. Like I said in my last video about WandaVision, the house isn't perfect, because obviously when you're building something that is based on a sitcom, it's not always going to be accurate, and this house from the outside more or less looks the same from the 80s episode, and even the floor plan inside isn't crazy different, but it's just different enough that it becomes very complicated when you're trying to lay it out. When I was building the 80s episode house, this gets really confusing talking about 80s, 70s, 90s, everything. But when I was building the 80s episode house, I basically took 10 screenshots that I was able to work from. For this one, I had to take I think I took 27, and I was constantly flicking back and forth between them, just trying to figure out the layout of the house. But the outside of the house more or less stayed the same, and the inside changes completely. So if you're looking at the house from the outside thinking like you just built the exact same house, I kind of did, but really didn't. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of working on the living room area, or the dining room area, and the only image that there was in the show of this kind of little dining room nook was at the very start of the show. Someone's walking downstairs and you can kind of just see it out of the corner. So that was the only reference I was working from, plus a couple of like background shots, but it was kind of all I had to work from. The kitchen in this house is really cool. I'm actually a really big fan of how this turned out, and even watching the show I was like, wow, this is really cool. I would live there. I don't know, maybe it was just the kind of nostalgia thing, but it was just really nice house, or nice kitchen. I did jump ahead there just because I did spend a long time kind of fiddling around with the island in particular, and this area here. I think I cut out more of this in a second, but this kind of shelving separation thing, it was in the house from the 80's as well, but this one I thought was more of a feature in this episode. Just the way the house is laid out, it just, I don't know, it felt more prominent. Also from this episode of the show, I got a lot more angles of different rooms. It's just the way that this one was filmed in comparison to the other one. It just gave me a lot more angles to work from, so I think I got it more accurate, but at the same time I was kind of more critical of the things that weren't working quite so well. Like the hallway on the left side of the kitchen, it's basically just one long hallway, but in the show you don't really get a good look at it, so I kind of just had to make it up, and I basically had to follow that for the rest of the house. Because this is filmed in still kind of a sitcom format, you only see parts of the house, so you primarily only see the kitchen, living room and dining room, as well as a couple of rooms upstairs, mainly one bedroom and a bathroom, but they're just like snapshots in the intro of the show. So I basically had to make up everything from here on out. I kind of followed the same format of my last house. So on this other side of the house there's an office space and a bathroom, but I also threw in a guest bedroom, and once again kind of getting into spoiler territory, I'm warning you now, if you hear it, it's your own problem. But Pietro, who's Wanda's brother, comes into the picture, so I kind of built him a makeshift guest bedroom. I threw in like what's meant to be a pull-out couch in kind of like a storage room, like an unexpected guest arrived, they had to throw him somewhere. I don't know, that's kind of what I was going with anyway. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm still trying to get used to doing these voiceovers, so there kind of comes a point in each video where I don't know what else to say, so I kind of just give up, and not give up, but just kind of panic and throw in music to round out the rest of the video. But basically I just wanted to say that if you do decide to download this house, which you can on the gallery, my gallery ID is linked in the description below. Not linked, it's just listed. But if you do download this house, I'd definitely recommend having move objects on before you do it, because just when I was taking screenshots and stuff, I had to download the house again from my own gallery, and I did notice that like the stairs disappeared and a couple of other things disappeared that I did have to replace. So if you do download it, definitely do have move objects turned on, just so you get the house and you're not missing key things like the stairs. This house is, I think, pretty player friendly. It's not overly cluttered, and it's not a crazy expensive house. I think it ends up being like 110,000 simoleons, which isn't crazy. Basically, if you just have a sim who's a painter or an author, you'll have that in like 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say. Basically, the bedrooms upstairs, I kind of just stuck with the same format of kind of running with a very generic theme. Tommy's room, which I'm working on now, actually, that room is one of the only rooms upstairs that you actually get a brief snapshot of, which I will include with the screenshots at the end. But yeah, kind of, you just get one section of the room, and basically the entire rest of the upstairs is completely made up, along with the back garden. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with how this turned out. I'm thinking of doing more videos like this, but maybe not more from WandaVision, because, you know, there's only so much you can do with the same floor plan and the same exterior. So I'm thinking of trying to do other TV shows or movies or things like that, because I do really enjoy working like this. It's just really cool trying to work from screenshots and, you know, trying to get it as accurate as possible. I'm a big fan of The Office at the moment, so I'm really thinking of building their office space from that show. I think that would be pretty cool. Don't know how practical it would be in The Sims, but I might do it anyway. So stay tuned for that, if it ever comes. Also, I'm not sure what my upload schedule is going to look like, because I'm still in college and I'm actually going into work placement pretty soon. I'm in graphic design, that's what I'm studying, and I'm starting placement with a company in the next week or so. Things are up in the air, obviously, because of, you know, the whole corona. But if that's going ahead like it's supposed to, I don't know how much I'll be able to upload. But hopefully I'll be able to do it more, because I do really enjoy this, and this is kind of my downtime anyway. But yeah, I think I might leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this video and the rest of the video, and hopefully I will see you soon. Thanks so much for watching.